On Friday, the South African Guild of Actors, as part of a series of discussions during Heritage Month, held an event on Friday to address what they say is an incredibly pressing issue in the entertainment landscape. It was a discussion titled Unmasking Systemic Racism in Commercials, Theatre, Film, and TV. It took place at the Artscape Theatre. Panelists include well-known actors of stage and screen, Toko Nchinga, Melanie Dubois, Yodia Samson, but also Jack Devnarain, actor and chairman of the South African Guild of Actors. He joins me now on the line. When you say unmasking systemic racism in commercials, theatre, film, and TV, what is the landscape that we're talking about here, Jack?
Morning, listener. It seems to be a closed-off system. It's a silo in itself. The Western Cape seems to have created its own ecology when it comes to the creative sector. And this is based on the reports we're getting from our panelists. And understand that we've been getting these reports for a few years now. It's only now that we have the opportunity to interrogate it. So it seems that there are systems within systems where there are race-based opportunities so that only certain people and certain races will be allowed opportunities to work on certain productions. Only they will have access to certain budgets, only they will have access to certain levels of seniority. And it seems that when we say that it's a systemic problem, it seems that broadcasters are also involved in how work is allocated and how budgets are made available. So this was quite alarming to us, but it was revealing and stunning to actually have people in the room who were relating their personal experiences of felt racism and other forms of discrimination.
Give me an example of one of these testimonies by the panelists.
Well, you have, for example, a black female performer, who would have certain requirements because of her type of hair or the kind of skin tone that she has, and then she'd walk onto a set, and it'll be quite clear that nobody in the hair and makeup department has made any provision whatsoever for her complexion or the kind of product that her hair would need. You have other examples of people walking into a set where the dressing rooms are for women, and you would find that there'd be a clique of people, and the black performer would be made to feel as if she is not welcome. She's not allowed to answer her phone in the change room. She's not allowed to speak to the others unless she is spoken to first. You have examples of where people in the Muslim colored community have stories written about them, but you'll find that they are not represented in the writing room themselves. And these are some of the things that came up in the course of the discussion.
Who would be the body or the industry player or the overarching umbrella framework to address this? And I'm sure you're not the only industry. I could speak to people in the banking sector, and they would say there are issues in the banking sector. They'll speak to people in construction, and they'll say there'll be issues in construction, similar to what is happening in stage and film. It could be every industry a microcosm of a broader South African society. But who would you want to address these which are, I'm sure, very powerful testimonies of these actors and producers and writers?
Yes, the difference with those other industries, Lester, is that they have recourse based on the Department of Employment and Labor and labor laws that they have recourse to. So they have access. They have the basic conditions of employment. They have the Labor Relations Act. They have union representatives. They'll have an HR department that they can report to. The difference is that in our creative sector, we are completely unregulated. So we do not have access to any of those labor laws. We don't have an HR department. We cannot lay a charge as, let's just say, the basic conditions might allow us to. So it means that in an unregulated system such as ours, you have racists and bigots who walk around in plain sight. And they have no fear of recourse because there is no mechanism by which to say, we believe that there's a consistent pattern of discriminatory behavior from you. I think we need to talk about it. There is no such thing because in the freelance world, if you raise your voice, your contract is summarily terminated.
What's it called in the industry? Being blackballed?
Yes, exactly that. That word came up a lot, Lester. It was described to us in various ways and at various levels. And we must be clear that the discussion was not just about performers. It included what producers felt were that they were also being blackballed. Certain black directors who were present, people who were working in technical crew, people of color, working in all those various parts of the value chain, all described to some extent what it felt to be blackballed and for what reason that it might have happened.
I think it's an important discussion, and Jack Devnarain, really appreciate your time. 021-446-0567. Jack, before I let you go, there's a question here from someone who may be in the industry. It says, can Jack give updates on issues around syndication and or low payments? I know this has been something that you've been talking about, particularly when an esteemed or legendary actor passes away. Their shows may have gotten extensive reruns, may have been airing on Netflix. It's now showing on SABC Encore on the DSTV platform, making a lot of money for DSTV and for the SABC, but that doesn't filter down to the actors and the writers who produce that work.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And sadly, there is a consistent resistance to the idea of royalties for performers. And the syndication happens because broadcasters are absolutely intent on extracting as much revenue and making as much profit as they possibly can, even to the extent of performers who have long gone. And there is absolutely no contribution to the performers or their deceased estates if they have passed, because broadcasters, including the streamers like Netflix, will simply say to you, well, that's not the rule in South Africa, so we're not going to abide by it. And that's the reason SALSA has been pushing so hard for actor royalties to be secured in statute, in some form of legislation, because until we achieve that, everyone will simply say, well, we'll attend the funeral and then we'll send thoughts and prayers.
I spoke to someone in the industry on Thursday, and speaking about how there is no money anymore to develop any form of product. Everything is repackaged from particularly American style reality shows or telenovelas that they can get from Turkey or India, and can simply just read up from a creative point of view, more than just a performance point of view, from a writing point of view, saying that it's incredibly difficult because nowadays you have to first make or write and workshop everything and then try and sell it to a channel or a distributor. But even that, because many people have gravitated to streaming online. YouTube has in fact become a TV channel on its own. It's a very dire and bleak picture on the creative arts in TV and television and film writing at the moment, Jack.
Yeah, it does feel like that. And I think we need to introspect about how this happened, because you'll have a lot of people saying there is no money, and they're absolutely right. Certainly, you are not going to get investment in an unregulated industry. You cannot get investment if you're unable to, to give confidence to the investor that you are all playing off a certain set of rules. When you're in an industry where you're making up the rules as you go along, and you're having situations as I came across yesterday, there's a feature film production in Johannesburg where you have the background actors who are whites, who are being paid 600 Rand a person per day, and black background actors working in the same scene are getting paid 300 Rand per person per day. So this is the kind of irregularity and discrimination that we are facing in the industry. Tell me what kind of investor wants to invest in something like that. How do we expect government to support us through various schemes, grants, and rebate systems if we are unable to sit together as an industry and acknowledge each other as professionals, when we are so focused on exploitation that we ourselves can't guarantee an investor that will turn out anything at some level of professionalism and ethical quality?
Really appreciate your time, Jack Devnarain, chairperson of the South African Guild of Actors.